This controls the leading, which is the spacing between the words. Spacing between the words right there. So if I was to click on it and decrease it, it's tightening this up. And usually you want to keep everything nice and tight, especially for 3 or 4 sentences that kind of just like state something. Keep it tight, because the tighter it is, of course you don't want things overlapping, but the tighter it is, the quicker your eye can scan through it. It doesn't become 4 or 5 words. It becomes a statement. Be a rock star, get a Washburn. It becomes a logo, a saying, a slogan, if you will. I mean, we could space all this stuff out. Sorry, we'll go the other way, and you can keep your hand or cursor on it, and you can do this, and you'll see you have almost a space or a pause in here. That increased leading almost gives us a pause. Be a rock star, get a Washburn, right? So different ways you can play with setting the leading to get the reader to read it and say it how it's meant to be said, or how you want it to be said, or how the client wants it to be said. And we can also tighten up the kerning, which is, if we were to go yada yada right here. By the way, I'm sorry. And we can also set the tracking, okay, which is right over here. Usually I like to tighten it up just a bit, because it brings the spaces in between the words together, reduces that space. In contrast, if I was to go in here, for example, and set 100, it's going to increase the spaces, okay, between the words. When I was in college, my typography teacher, his name was David. I forget his last name, but he was a Welsh guy at Georgian College in Barrie, Ontario. Fabulous, extremely talented gentleman. Anyway, he told me this secret, and he said, imagine you're pouring sand in between these shapes. The shapes, he was talking about the letters. Okay, I'm going to actually give you a quick demo and try to imagine. Imagine you're pouring sand in between this shape right here, and in between that shape right there, okay, and in between this shape right here, this space, this negative space that the letters are creating. The idea is that you want to have the equal amount of sand to be able to be poured into each of these spaces, and that is the trick to good typography. And what he told me has stuck with me, and now I'm hoping it's going to stick with you. And ask me about it if you want some time, and I'll be happy to elaborate on this. But for example, I'm going to select all this stuff, and I am going to tighten this up. We're going to bring this in. I'm going to go to like -25 to begin with. Okay. Now it's okay to have extra space in between this, because there's supposed to be a space there. Be a rock star, right? So for example, these ones are always fun. You've got a nice, visually looks like you've got an equal amount of space, because you've got, starts off here, it's a little narrow, right, and gets in, it's a little, a little bottlenecking through here, and then boom, you got this nice open space here, okay? Same thing on this side. It starts off narrow, opens up a little bit, a little bit wider on this side, but then you got this nice big open space here. Roughly the same amount of sand can be poured in to these two areas. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. A real nice trick in order to get visually stunning type. And you'll notice that sometimes it looks fine over here, but over here, too tight. So what you got to do then, so you got to go in and select each individual one. I'm going to select these two actually. Okay, and then I'm going to minus them out. And what's happening is I am increasing the spacing in between these two words. Now I click off, getting better. Now you'll see this space here is starting to equal this space here, and it's starting to equal that space there. So we're going to bring this out just a bit. And the reason why it's a little tight is because what you have is you've got basically you know, the font stylings here. You've got the bowl of the A here, and you've got the bottom of this T here. They're both, you know, organic shapes that come out and bump out together, and when you get them together, such as this combination, you tend to get a conflict, you know, a spatial conflict right down here. So you do have to watch out sometimes. You just can't like select all and go, I want to tighten this up by -50 and then it's going to look great. Chances are you have to go in and tweak it just a bit. Okay, and I'm actually going to go in and tighten up the space between the A and the R just a teeny bit. And to tell you the truth, you could spend hours tweaking this stuff. And this stuff does need quite a bit more work, but I'm not going to do it right now. -50, pretty good. Alright. Good enough for now. The S needs a bit of work. What else? That's pretty good. Pretty good. Right, so be a rock star, get a Washburn. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. But say, for example, it rocks. This title down here, I want to overstate be a rock star. Okay? Just because it ties in with, you know, the header up here, the statement, it rocks. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to take this whole thing and we're just going to scale this up just a bit. Now it's up to you how big you make it. Okay, it's up to you. I think that's a little too big. And to tell you the truth, I can spend hours doing this stuff because for me, it's pretty darn cool. I'm just going to increase a little bit, just like so. I think I might change that font too because it's starting to bother me. Well, definitely what I must do is increase the lighting a bit because we've got a conflict here with this comma. Now, one way to solve that easily is to put a period there and add a G there. Depending who writes the copy. We're going to tighten this up a bit again. There we go. Alright, pretty good. Okay, now here's one version. I'm going to save this. I should have saved this a long time ago. I'm going to save this. I'm going to export this eventually as a PDF file. So I'm going to save this as an AI file. It's okay. So we're going to go here. We're going to save this to the desktop. CS3. I like to turn off the PDF compatible file just because it makes things much bigger. I'm going to turn off the compression because I don't want it compressed. I just want to have this thing as unaltered as possible. I'm old-fashioned that way. I'm going to go OK. Right on, it's saved. Now, say for example I want to do something different to this title up here. Okay, I might bring it into Photoshop or something, which is exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to actually just make a copy of this. Okay, and it doesn't have to be down there. I could, you know, just copy, paste. I just want an unedited reference file, and I'm just going to make this black so I can actually see what the heck's going on. So this guy here, I'm going to convert to outlines. Okay, which is type, create outlines. Pow. So now this is all vector. So now what I'm going to do is copy this. Actually, before that, I'm just going to show you something super cool. Before I bring it into Photoshop, 3D. If I go down here under Effect, Extrude and Bevel, now this is going to act really weird because we got all kinds of freaky shapes going on. So it may not work out, but I just want to show you what can happen. You can 3Dify. 3Dify. That's my word of the day. Any vector object that you have. You can do the extrude depth, which is basically how deep this thing goes. You can rotate it around. Most importantly, you can preview what it's going to look like. And because this is a fairly complex graphic, there's tons of points in through here. It's going to take a little bit of a time to do, but I'm just going to get this done quickly, I hope. And it's rendering. La la la. Talk amongst yourselves.